Hideaki Itsuno, the director of Dragon's Dogma 2, pointed out the downsides of fast travel in a recent IGN interview. His point being that if travel isn't riveting enough and is seen as a chore, the best fix is to make the journey itself interesting, instead of giving players an easy bypass. The fact that Capcom sells fast travel consumables as microtransactions makes the whole discourse seem disingenuous and has prompted some angry responses. And while I stand with those who see those microtransactions as a despicable practice that sullies the gaming industry as a whole, the discussion about fast travel does interest me. Can a functionality designed specifically for convenience really have a detrimental effect on a game? A famous quote attributed to Soren Johnson says, "Given the opportunity, players will optimize the fun out of a game." We generally take the path of least resistance. It makes sense. If I can get where I want to go more quickly and without effort, why not take the shortcut? The problem is that when we rely too heavily on a teleportation system, the experience can quickly become a series of loading screens. This issue is particularly apparent with large open worlds. A major appeal of these types of games is exploration, which fast travel renders somewhat obsolete. We miss out on a lot of things we could have encountered along the way if we bypass travel altogether. What's more, traveling is a key thematic component of some stories. When the journey is more important than the destination, fast travel becomes the surest way to ruin a story.
The ring must be destroyed. It must be taken deep into Mordor and cast back into the fiery chasm from whence it came.
Another disadvantage of this feature is that it reduces immersion. Every time this tool is used, we are extracted from the world and thrust back into a user interface. This can be alleviated with the inclusion of diegetic means of transport, but at the cost of efficiency. For the sake of realism, these options are slower and not available everywhere. I'm talking here about automatic modes of locomotion in the game's world. But traveling can be engaging in and of itself. When the means of transportation are, by themselves, an activity players might deliberately want to engage in, the need for bypassing it loses much of its relevance. To accomplish this, the traversal mechanic can rely on interactivity. Gliding in the Batman Arkham franchise is a proactive mechanic that engages the player and rewards them for understanding and perfecting it. Such is also the case for parkour in various Assassin's Creed entries. Anything that makes traversal more engaging than pressing a key to move forward participates in reducing the need for an automatic teleportation. Engagement can also come from the world itself. A short journey to a quest location can provide an opportunity for dialogue with NPCs, and if the mood is right, it can reinforce immersion instead of alienating the player from it.
No, I don't think I will.
Traveling can be pleasant, interesting, even fun, but after a while, the journey can become much less appealing than the destination. When that happens, a game that stubbornly denies us a way of shortening the tedium risks becoming dull. This is compounded further by repetitive round trips, typically required in the course of side missions. For old-timers like me, it can be tempting to think that kids these days have no patience. They want everything immediately and with no effort. Back in my days, we had to insert 55 floppy disks one after another, and installing a game took a whole day. And we did it in the snow, in the middle of the woods, while fighting off bears. Except that shortcuts like fast travels have been a part of gaming experience for a long time, since long before open worlds. It was more apparent when large worlds were not so unrestricted, and instead consisted of a collection of distinct environments. Arcanum offered players the option to walk all the way from place to place, but this simply meant traversing empty spaces. Some relatively old point-and-click also let users shorten the character's movements by teleporting them out of a screen and into the next. The idea is to reduce repetitive actions in order to limit the monotony they build over time. This dullness is real, and when boredom rears its yawning head, the thought of trudging to our destination and back again, in a world that we already know all too well, isn't very appealing. Imagine for a moment what movies would look like if we expected every action to be performed in its entirety, without any editing-induced ellipses. If a character intends to go somewhere on foot, do we have to watch through every one of their steps? My wife once saw me fill a plate from a pot this way. In her infinite wisdom, she advised me to bring the plate closer to the pot. I might be overdoing it a little, but fast travel is a tool that, when used well, works wonders to alleviate some of the dreariness that comes with open worlds. For it to be helpful without being too intrusive, it should be used sparingly. Most games with this feature require the player to unlock a fast travel point, to discover it somehow. This keeps exploration relevant and no longer at odds with this function. Some take this approach a step further and only allow you to freely explore their world at a late stage. Final Fantasy games usually open up in their final act, by which you've had time to familiarize yourself with the world at a story-driven pace. A similar result can be achieved by requiring the use of consumables when traveling. This can make fast travel a luxury in early game, when said consumables are in short supply, but a much more accessible commodity later on. Like placing the teleportation points at carefully thought out locations in terms of convenience and density, this requires a lot of precision in design. While the scarcity of consumables may nudge a player towards going on foot and undertaking a journey, it also bears the risk of feeling like a slap in the face, an unjust limitation imposed on the player's freedom. Especially if you're selling said consumables for actual money, Capcom. There's no denying that the experience differs depending whether or not one is using fast travel in an open world. I think it's an important tool that should not be disregarded. While Hideaki Itsuno's comments raise relevant points that designers should take into consideration, it's also a bit disingenuous to imagine that any game can provide hours and hours of engaging content without ever hitting the point of repetition and tedium. Maybe the problem lies elsewhere. Maybe games have become too big, too long to complete. But what about those who love getting lost in those large worlds for a long time? Isn't it unfair to scold them for wanting some convenience, some quality of life? As usual, I believe the answer lies in giving people choices, in guiding them carefully towards new and engaging experiences, without refusing outright their requests to play the game as they see fit.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is on there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like the breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's lady, stranger to blue water.
Please, HelloFresh, sponsor me.